Hey everyone, welcome to the last video of the East of Eden Progress series. I once again have forgotten to record the intro, so this is me after I've actually finished the book saying welcome to the video. And before I get started, I just want to say for all the people who have stuck around for all 4 videos, I know that these videos get less views than my book list videos, which is, that's normal, that's fine. But I really do appreciate and want to say thank you so much for everybody who stuck around and watched all 4 videos. And it really made my day when I read that people were going to reread the book or read it for the first time just so we can read along. And it really it means a lot to me. And I just want to say thanks so much for sticking around for all 4 videos. I really enjoyed this book, and the last clip, you'll really see me gush about it, so try to stick around for it. If not, that's fine. But again, thanks so much for sticking around, and yeah, happy reading. See you guys in the next clip, which is in the past. Okay, bye. So, we're back. Gonna do a quick clip this time. I am 450-ish pages into the book. I just finished chapter 37. There's some interesting stuff going on in here. Some cool stuff. What is just transpired in this book is Adam just had his big refrigeration train idea. And I gotta say, it's a very rewarding part in this book to see Adam be much more engaged, much more alive, coming out of his shell a little bit and becoming a little bit more, inspired. He's been very inspired lately, but not just inspired, he's taking action, which is very, very, it's very new for him. But there's a couple of interactions in this chapter that has got me thinking that I really enjoy, and I really like the back and forth. The first one being the interactions between Will Hamilton and Adam and Lee a little bit, right? So, Will comes to the house, and he's just such in businessman mode. He's ready to buy something or buy into something or sell something or, take money from someone. He's just kind of as I read a little bit more in this book, I'm starting to think he's supposed to be the embodiment of capitalism, right? Kind of money at all costs. If there's no money involved, it's not worth paying attention to. It's not worth your time. And which is interesting because his father was Sam Hamilton, who had all these ideas and he had no money, right? And Adam kind of comes to him and hey, I had this idea, what do you think? And 2 interesting things happen. The first one is Will is people only ever come to me when they want me to agree with their ideas. If it's just a business idea, they only want them to agree with my, they only want me to agree with them, with their ideas. And I will agree with them if I want to continue being friends with them, whether or not I think it's a good idea, which is an interesting comment, because what we learn is that with Will, the only thing that is a good idea is an idea that makes money. And then he goes on to say well, you're a friend of my family, so I'm going to be honest with you. But the thing that kind of jumped out to me about what Will's tirade he goes on is, one, he's we had ideas for breakfast. We had ideas instead of breakfast. We had so many ideas, we didn't have groceries, So it gives him a little bit more of, look, Will Hamilton is an asshole, right? He's a douchebag, and this comment doesn't change any of that. However, you do get a little bit of insight onto why he acts the way he acts, why he's so defensive when it comes to ideas is because his father was just this big idea man and never really got any money out of it. So this comment that he gives him a little bit more of a personality and, maybe a little bit more like ethos. However, he starts he says this weird thing about his dad and then Tom, where he calls Tom crazy or something. And he says that Tom would come up with ideas without even considering that money could be made. He just wanted to help people, which is stupid, right? Which is like a gross thing, and that's kind of what makes me feel like he's like the embodiment of capitalism. This and the one more thing that I'll talk about in a second, which it just strikes me as really gross, right? Because Tom was obviously a very tortured soul, and part of his downfall was because Will treated him so terribly when he asked him for money. Always saying that you're crazy, none of this will work out, you're stupid, shut up. I don't know if it was that harsh, but that's what it felt it's what it felt in my heart when I read it. So that's the first thing that strikes me as gross. And the next thing is that Will, and I mean, a lot of the times that Sam and Tom came up with ideas, it was for the purpose of helping people, and to Will, it's just kind of like a waste of time, which is just, it's just gross, right? And, when he says something like, oh, it all bordered on socialism, also part of the reason why I think he embodies capitalism. And then at the end of the interaction with Adam and Will, Will says oh, you should invest in preservatives or preservative food instead of keeping, produce fresh. He's like, because the war is coming. I'm assuming it's World War I, or when did refrigerators come out? I don't know. I'm assuming it's one of the wars. Maybe it's World War II, actually, at this point. It's probably World War II. Yeah, I think it's World War II. And he's like, there's a war coming. I'm sorry, that made me look very silly. But anyway, he's like, there's a war coming around, and preservatives and beans are gonna go crazy. They're going to the moon, It's like, you should really invest in preservative foods because there are people who are gonna be hungry everywhere and they'll pay a lot of money for it. Which to me was very gross, right? He's like, people are gonna be starving. This is your chance to profit off that, And I think it was very purposeful by Steinbeck to mention that Will had contempt for Tom for making ideas that are just solely for the purpose of helping people, and then suggest later that by the way, people are gonna be starving, you should profit off them, Seems very intentional for me. But at the same time, you do kind of get an idea of why he acts this way, is because he's so defensive about ideas. It's just because he didn't have money growing up, and there's so many ideas, and his father got taken advantage of so many times. But that's another thing that bothers me, is that his father was taken advantage of so many times with the patents he would make. But Will himself does that to people, and especially when he was talking about Tom, and he was like, oh, well, Tom could use a businessman like me to get this idea going, That really grossed me out. So Will Hamilton right now, not a big fan of that guy. That being said, so Adam goes and he does the idea anyway, which I love. I think that's great. It is kind of Adam's whole thing of he'll ask for advice but not take any of it. But this is one of the first times that this is Adam's idea, it's his obsession, and he's actually doing it. A lot of times he'll just be like, oh yeah, I'll do that, or he gets inspired for a little bit, and then he puts it off and ends up not doing it. This is the first time he actually does the damn thing. And I love that Lee is helping him manifest this in any way he can, I love that Lee is kind of on his side this time and even push the conversation forward between him and Will. Adam and Will, rather. And Lee saying that, you know, like, we still have money, let's go for it, you know. Yeah, I really enjoyed that. I thought that was great. Some other things that are happening in the book: Aaron and Cal are growing up. Cal's kind of like, this is so very clearly becoming another Cain and Abel, simile, metaphor, analogy, that's the word I'm looking for, where Cal, a little bit more disturbed, a little bit darker, and like, he wants to be a farmer, you know, just like Cain, and Abel is kind of like a, you know, or Aaron is a little bit more, you know, he's a little bit more head in the clouds, a little bit more romantic, you know. Not that they really get into that much detail in the actual story of Cain and Abel. It's just kind of where my head goes when I think about them. And also the A and C in their names, you know. But I do like Abra and Aaron's chemistry. I think they're fun to read about together. The whole Aaron and the whole mom thing about asking Abra to to act like his mom, and she's like, fuck yeah, I'll do that. I mean, okay, Steinbeck. That's what you want to write about, you know. But I do enjoy their chemistry and their interactions with each other, and I like how shameless Abra is about their relationship together, even though when people are making fun of Aaron. Though Aaron is getting on my nerves a little bit about how flippy floppy he is with his dad. I get that his whole worldview about like the importance of truth and honesty, and then like maybe finding out his dad's been lying. I get it, but he just seems dramatic. But I gotta spend some more time with him. Anyway, I'm probably gonna finish this book in the next couple days, which is crazy. Like, look how much, I don't have that much left in there. I feel like I've been reading this book forever, so I'm excited to finish it. Side note, my girlfriend and I are gonna go plant shopping. I'm waiting for her to get here, so we're gonna go out and get some more plants, and they can join the family over here. Might have to find some more space for them. But anyway, I'm excited for that. Maybe I'll show you guys my new plant, or plants, maybe with an S, in the next clip. Okay, enjoy your weekend. Talk to you guys later. Hello, good evening. It's quite late. I wasn't sure if I was gonna read tonight. My boss right now, she's in Hong Kong, visiting her family, and we still have to have our weekly meetings, but there's a 12-hour time difference, so typically we're meeting with her late at night. Today was one of those days where I did like a whole work day, and then again I had like a meeting around 8 p.m. and that lasted for a while. So around 10, I don't usually read this late because I can't really focus and I get really sleepy, but I wanted to read. I wasn't sure if I was going to, but man, I'm really glad I did. These chapters are just getting better and better, and I think that Cal as a character is really like blossoming into this amazing character. It's really interesting to see his development, because different from Kathy, he was able to pinpoint what kind of makes him spiteful, what makes him kind of angry, and it's that kind of recognition that he doesn't really get the love that he craves, maybe specifically from everyone, but kind of like from his father, and he has a lot of love for his dad, right? So he goes, I mean, this is part 4, so you should probably know by now, but spoiler warning. He goes, he knows about his mom, right? He knows about Kathy, so he goes just to see her place, just to see what it's like And he goes and he like sees everything, and he ends up talking to Lee. And Lee is the best. Lee is just such a great character. And while he's, while he's talking to Lee, he wants to know like why Kathy did what she did. And Lee's like, basically he's like, I don't know, man. Like, I spent years of my life thinking about that, and I don't know. My best answer is that she's just not normal. She's just a twisted person. I don't see any of myself in her, which is why I kind of can't identify with her. And then Cal kind of just goes like, okay, well, tell me about my dad, like what's going on with my dad. I don't really know much about him. And Lee was like, your dad is the kind of the opposite of her, in that like he cares maybe, or he loves maybe too deeply. He has a little bit too much compassion, and it leads him to inaction and softness. And I think that kind of moved something in Cal, and he says like he loves his dad, and even Lee's like, yeah, I love him too, actually, which I thought was really, really sweet. And then it kind of leads Cal to this insecurity that he has. He's like, I'm worried that, because I'm half my mom, I have that spiteful resentment in me, and he's seen it in himself, which makes him nervous. And this really amazing moment, probably my favorite moment so far of part 4, Lee kind of confronts him, and he's like, you are not, you can escape your ancestry, you can escape your inheritance. And it ties a whole shitload of themes together in this book, right? Like, one is that withdrawal of love, and how deeply that withdrawal of love affects the rest of the family. But I'll talk about that one in a little bit more, kind of stemming all the way back from Cyrus, bringing it all the way down to Cal. The other one is that Cain and Abel, the inheritance of guilt, and the kind of thing that made Adam feel like he was free is when he felt like he inherited people's guilt. It's kind of flipping the opposite for Cal, where Cal is like, I don't want to inherit like my mother's evil, basically, and I see it myself in me, and it scares me. But then it comes back to the thou mayest, like you can choose. And Lee is like, no, actually, you are yourself. You can escape your ancestry. And it ties even more together because Lee has this whole thing about escaping, or I guess subverting his ancestry, and subverting what people expect of him because he is, a Chinese American. It's just a really, really cool moment. And even kind of like, if it wasn't like obvious enough, this whole escaping your ancestry thing, at the end, Lee says, I wonder what happened to my Oriental repose, right? Kind of showing that you are not your ancestry, and you can kind of choose for yourself, kind of bring this whole theme of choice and like choosing to be a good person, I just think it's like a really beautiful, a really sentimental, lesson that this book teaches you, is that you can choose to be a good person, and like being a good person isn't who you are born as, or who your parents are, what family you come from, or even whose DNA is in you. It's just the choices that you make from day to day. I just think it's a nice, I've read so many sad books in the past couple months that it's really nice. There's some really tragic things that happen in this book, but overall, the message of this book, so far to me at least, is that like being a good person is a choice, and you can, choose to make that choice. And the next chapter is a really beautiful chapter, where Cal and Adam have like a heart to heart, and this is kind of the section where Cal and Adam kind of realize they don't really know much about each other, and Adam is like, basically he's like, I'm a bad father. And what he says is, well, he asks kind of Cal who he is, and then Cal says like, I'd tell you if you asked. Really when he wants to like give his father affection, he's just kind of like being wary. He says, I'll tell you if you ask. And then Adam says, I didn't ask. I'm a bad father as my father was. Right? And he says, my father made a mold and forced me into it. I was a bad casting, but I couldn't be remelted. Nobody can be remelted. And so I remained a bad casting. You know? And then later he says, he was a tough old man, and now I know what he meant. This is about Sam. I'm the same as my father was. He didn't allow me to be a person, and I haven't seen my sons as people. That's what Samuel meant. And Cal said, we don't think you're a bad father, which is nice, but it's just a really, really beautiful moment of growth for Adam, kind of breaking that cycle of withdrawing love. And it really kind of like points to this theme of the book, is like how deeply it runs when someone is not given the love that they deserve, or, you know, when love is withheld from them. Like this whole thing starts because Cyrus did not love Adam, right? Or did not give Adam the love he needed, which has led Adam down this path in life, led him to marry Kathy because he, you know, and then led him to have these two boys that he neglected because he didn't really know how to love them, and then it's led Cal to feel so desperately like he needs love, you know. And it's just a really cleverly written book. It's a really cleverly written path, you know. The next thing that happens is, you know, Cal goes and he talks to Kathy, and he totally suns Kathy, no pun intended. And like Kathy just gets more and more unhinged as the day goes, and she's like hiding from people now, and she's realizing, oh shit, she's not the most clever person in the world. But, you know, it just, a lot of these themes are coming together at the end of this book, and I'm really starting to love it, really starting to have a really big spot in my heart for this book. It's just a really lovely book. I hope it doesn't end super tragically, because I really love the message of this book, right? Like, choose to be a good person, you know. It's really nice. And Lee remains my favorite character. He's such a great character. Like, his wisdom and his decision making in these times, knowing when to let Adam take the reins, you know, and just being always surprised and impressed with the twins. He's just such a great character. And Cal's amazing too. I really love this development with Cal, where he's learning that like he can be his own person, and he's like kind of has that same Adam moment that Adam has with Kathy. He's like, actually, you have no power over me. I'm going to choose to be my own person. It's just a really great book. I'm sorry, I don't have as much energy as I normally do. I'm quite tired. I'm gonna go to bed after I press the stop button. But yeah, thanks for coming along with me on the journey of this book. There might be one or two more clips left in this book. Look, I got like almost nothing left. I'm gonna be sad when it's over. Okay. Oh, new plant reveal. Did I show you the plant in the last clip? I gotta move my chair really quick. Like, come here. New plant reveal. Big. Oh shit. Sorry. I'm not really good at holding the camera like this. Big old plant. It's called a dumb cane. Anyway. Okay. I'll talk to you guys later. Hello. I have 50 pages left of the book. I'm zooming through the end here. I got a tattoo yesterday. Got a little peek of it right there. So I booked nothing for today. So I will be finishing the book today, but I had to stop and say something about what I've read so far, because holy shit, what a doozy of a couple of chapters. A couple of things I want to talk about beforehand is like Aaron. We gotta talk about Aaron. Aaron isn't my favorite character. He's just a little bit. He is very similar to Adam, which makes me think he is actually Adam's kid and not Charles's kid. But we'll never know. But he's just a little airheaded. Like, he's a smart kid, he's a compassionate kid, but he's just like airheaded and a little bit bratty. Though I don't know if Adam was exactly bratty. But there are a lot of similarities between him and Adam, and also you can see the kind of similarities between him and Kathy too, kind of like the way he looks, and also how Kathy has like that dark room that she runs away in, and Aaron kind of yearns for that like escape room that he's like wants to take over the farm and escape with Abra in. But I guess so that's a cool part. I was like, oh, there's some similarities between Aaron and both of his parents. But, you know, the crazy thing that's been going on in this chapter is Cal, and he's getting money to pay his father back, and he's kind of like low-key trying to buy his father's love, which we know it's not gonna work. Like come on, if it worked, this book would be like, it would make no sense, right? But still, like, so he goes to Will Hamilton. Well, Will Hamilton, we know, is kind of like the embodiment of like greed. Doesn't care about other people's suffering, and is only really has sensitivity to profit. And we know that Adam is kind of like the opposite with his whole icebox endeavor, where he's like, I just want to do things for good. I don't really give a shit about money. And his whole thing is compassion, and he's like too good of a person to the point where he can't get anything done. At least that's what Lee says. I should put this down because I'm like just moving one arm and the other one's staying silent. So, you know, Cal and Adam have that heart to heart, and Cal's whole thing is like, okay, I'm going to protect my father, and I'm going to make up all the bad things that have happened to him, including losing this $15,000. Because in a weird roundabout way, it all stems back to Kathy. And Lee's like, I don't think he's going to like that. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I don't think he's going to like that. And Cal's like, well, I'm going to try it anyway. He does it. He makes $15,000, brings it, realizes it's all out of jealousy beforehand, but it still brings it to Adam. And Adam was like, where'd you get this money? And then Cal was like, well, I profited off the war, basically. I sold the beans at a higher price. And his dad is, you know, obviously he's mortified. He's like, I can't take this money. You stole this from farmers. You're profiting off of dead kids and shit, you know, which is low-key kind of based, but whatever. And Cal is obviously stunned. He's upset, and, you know, he's a kid, so you gotta give him some grace. But it's a really weird dynamic, because Adam, he has this really strong set of morals, but he's also like really airheaded and doesn't realize the pain or even really the reason why Cal is acting the way he's acting. Aaron is even more airheaded, right? Like Aaron's, I don't know, whatever. I don't want to talk about Aaron right now. But Cal is like really a deeply complicated character, where he has kind of like almost equal parts of Kathy and Adam as a part of him. And the whole thing is like, it all stems back to and they mentioned it earlier, which was kind of cool. I didn't expect them to mention it again. It's been in my mind the whole time I've been reading. It's like the Tim Shell, or like Thou Mayest, where like if you are going to be great, it depends. Like, you have the choice, right? You have to make the right choices to be great. And then when this happens, Lee comes up to him and is like, remember, you have a choice. You are equal parts both, but you have a choice to act upon one. And he's saying this as Cal is kind of slipping into his Kathy mode, you know? And it's a really beautiful circle, but it's like a tragic cycle, but beautifully written circle, when Cal, like, kind of metaphorically kills his brother by killing his worldview. And he does this by showing Aaron that his mother is still alive, which then proves his dad was a liar and kind of kills his whole worldview of like this perfect, pure, dependable person, other than the whole lettuce thing. I guess morally, like dependable person, right? So it's very interesting how Cyrus and Adam both raised their kids so differently, but there was still a lack of love in both cases. And both cases ended up in one loving, and kind of him preferring one of the kids more, and both doing this Cain and Abel situation where they're both giving gifts and one of them is rejected. However, with Adam, it's a little bit more brutal, right? Because he's like, I would have preferred it if you just gave me what Aaron has, which he's just like dedicated to his studies and he's doing something he believes in, which is ironic because Aaron doesn't even really want to do this shit anymore. Like he was convinced by Cal to stay in it the whole time. We're all sick of Aaron in this household. It's fine. We're all sick of Aaron. But it's a really beautifully written cycle about kind of the tragedy of like the consequences of the lack of love, because both Aaron and Adam ended up being the preferred one, getting the bigger share of the love, and both ended up going like to the army because they felt like they had nowhere to go, right? It's just a really I'm struggling to find the words to say it, but it's astounding how Steinbeck can plant this seed in the beginning of the book and have it so effortlessly continue and cycle again, and it's so cohesive and it doesn't feel forced. It just feels like, yes, this little bit of lack of love from Adam's father has led to all these things, and it led to a continuing cycle of like withdrawal of love and how it hurts people. And you know, it's a bummer because like this whole thing about like thou mayest, like that you can choose, and Cal kind of being on that precipice of being either like an Adam type character or a Kathy type character, as I guess morality or like empathetically rather. And this may have teetered him over the edge to be the more Kathy character. I really hope not. I really hope not, because Cal's evolution as a character has been really great to see. You know, how he's kind of like no, I just realized I'm just jealous and I still feel like I need to express love to people, and there's still real love in this world. And then kind of having this devastating blow of his father rejecting his gift that he worked so hard, neglected his studies, and you know, really changed his whole life to bring to his father, just for it to be rejected and be like, I wish you were more like my other son. It's interesting because like Adam, he's clearly a good guy. Like he clearly has like this strong set of morals, like against war, against violence, against human suffering, really, the profiting of human suffering. But he's really just an idiot, isn't he? Like even especially after that conversation he had with Cal, like he's like, oh, I trust you, you know. They had that like super good heart to heart, which led Cal to go on this whole path in the first place, and it's still and it's still like is not. It just kind of fell flat for him, you know, and which I feel like it's kind of a theme with Adam. Like he will have these big revelations, these big moments, and then just teeter out, and he's just back to his old, you know, kind of head in the clouds self. And then like Aaron's in the military, this dude's gonna get annihilated, man. Anyway, I had to get that off. I felt like there was more I wanted to say, but I think probably by the last clip I'll have a better... the word's gone. I'll have a better way to say it. Anyway, I'm gonna finish this today. I got nothing else going on today, so I'll talk to you then. I have 20 pages left, and I just want to get this prediction off real quick. I just got to the part where Cal kind of confronts Abra and talks to her about what he did and like why Adam ran away. And she's kind of like, I kind of knew that was going to happen. Like he hasn't grown up yet. which is a really important part, which we'll talk about probably more in the next clip, where it kind of just shifts the blame completely off of Cal for Adam running away, because, Lee had that whole part with Cal where he's like, you must be so important, you must be so tortured if you think this is all your fault, kind of like facetiously. But like Abra also kind of saying the same thing, like, oh, he was just kind of immature, he was kind of young, he never grew up, he never grew past his dream, and I kind of grew up and fell out of love with him. And when when Abra says, I'm glad you told me, she said, and Cal says, why? He says, because now I know I didn't make it all up. He couldn't stand to know his mother, about his mother, because that's not how he wanted the story. And he wouldn't have had any other story, so he tore up the world. It's the same way he tore me up, Abra, when he wanted to be a priest. So it's like the same way, Aaron isn't blameless in this at all, and he just like wasn't grown up yet. And so I am predicting that Cal and Abra are gonna get together, kind of perpetuating the same cycle that happened with Charles and Adam, where Charles and Kathy got together. So it's like perpetuating the same cycle, and for the same reason too, because Kathy thought that Charles was like clever and smart, and like deeper than Adam. And it's true about Cal and Aaron. So that's my prediction. You'll see in the next clip if I was right, or if you've read the book, you know if I'm right. And okay, bye. I did it. I finished. This is the ending to this book. It was perfect. It was perfect. I wouldn't have changed a thing about it, honestly. This book is pretty damn near perfect, to be honest. I don't think I would have changed a thing about it. This is my first reaction to it. I haven't really thought down and reflected much on it. I'm kind of like giving you my base reaction right now, but this book it's something else. I see why Steinbeck thought it was his greatest novel. This book feels like a second chance. It feels like a book that a lot of people need to read. I love books where you finish it and the main message of the book is immediately applicable to your life. And that's how I feel about this book. I don't think I would have changed a thing about it. I'm not gonna lie, the ending made me very emotional. It made me very it's like bittersweet, with Cal and Abra and Lee and Adam, right? Like when it kind of leads into it a little bit, when Cal and Abra are walking home and Cal's like, I killed my brother. My mother was this terrible person. I have all of that in me. And Abra is just like, so do I. It's okay. So do I, the step towards, honestly, I think if the book ended there, it would have been like amazing. But with Adam having the stroke, by the way, whatever, it's not important. I predicted it was going to be a stroke because of the numbness and the losing the eyesight, whatever, doesn't matter. And then at the end, Lee, by the way, Lee, perfect character, literally could not have been a more perfect character. Probably top 3 top 5 characters in all of literature for me, Lee is up there. Like, first it was like Sam, then Lee, but now it's definitely Lee, then Sam in this book. Anyway, and Lee just always knows what to do. He brings Cal and Abra into the room, and he like tells the very nice nurse to get out. And then she says some racist shit, which was fucked up, but you know, which you're supposed to think it's fucked up, I believe. Anyway, he gets the nurse out of the room, and he's like, give Cal your blessing. Like, you know what he did. He told you what he did. Give Cal your blessing. And then he like kind of raises his arm a little bit, which is, you know, Lee was like, thank you so much, you know. And he's like, just say his name for me. And instead he says Timshel, or thou mayest, which is just, ugh. I mean, you saw in the last video, or was it the video before, whichever one chapter 24 was in, where they go over Timshel, they go over thou mayest, like they go over like it is your choice to be a good person. Your guilt, your inheritance doesn't define you. It is your choice, you know. And the fact that Adam says this to Cal, I interpreted it was like, your mistakes, I don't see you as your mistakes, I see you as my son, I see you more than that. It is your choice to be a good person, you know. And it's just a really beautiful ending, because like it's like I know in like certain points in my life, like this book would have been, I needed this message, I needed this book. And I know lots of people today who are like good friends of mine, or people I know who are very tortured by mistakes they've made, or have a very unattainable standard for themselves. And it's kind of like what Lee was saying to Abra, where he's like, once you realize you don't have to be perfect, you can just be good, you know. And this book is like a really beautiful message of that, like, you are more than your inheritance, you're more than your mistakes, you're more than your guilt. You choose every day to be good or not, you know. And that's what defines you as a person, and that's what makes you as a person, which seems like a simple message, but the way it's told in the story is just perfect. It's perfect. I wouldn't have changed a thing about this book. The first like half the book I wasn't sure about. It was slow. It moved pretty slowly. The prose was beautiful, the writing was beautiful, the, you know, the quips and the observations about people were beautiful, but I was having a hard time connecting with the book. But as soon as chapter 24 happened and we got through the rest of this book, I just wouldn't have changed a word. Wow, I mean, I'm floored. I'm absolutely floored at this book. And it just feels good to read a book that is like, there's tragedy in it, but this book makes me very happy. It's a very comforting book. The message in this book is very comforting, you know. It's like when, you know, you ever like read people say or hear people say like, bad people don't worry about whether or not they're being bad, or they don't stress themselves out about whether or not what they did was a good thing or not, you know. And that's kind of like what this book preaches, you know. Like, if you're worried about whether or not you're a bad person, you know, if you are constantly putting thoughts and effort into like not being a bad person, just by the most simple terms, you're probably not a bad person. You know, I have some people I need to recommend this book to. And to me personally, it's a very powerful book, because like, you get down on yourself, you start to think poorly of yourself, you know. But when you have the decision whether or not to adjust, and I love what Lee said, where he was comparing, like, I guess God to like a master craftsman. He's like, do you think when a master craftsman gets older, or as he makes new things, like he isn't trying to improve the next batch? You know, like, people are a constant work in progress. It's not binary. You're not black or white, good or bad. You know, it is a constant battle with yourself to do the right thing. And it's hard. It's not an easy thing to do. You know, like Cal's whole story up to his life was like trying to be a good person, was trying to fight his urges of being a bad person, you know? And he still was so hard on himself. Yeah, he made mistakes, but like, and Cal just, and Abra just both blossomed to be such beautiful characters. And honestly, Adam too. Like, I know like we get down on Adam here, we kind of like, we get frustrated with Adam, but for him to accept his son's faults and still communicate to his son that he loves him, and even if he didn't love him, even if he didn't reject him, he still has that choice to be a good person, you know? Like, it shows a lot of growth for Adam. I mean, I have a lot of thinking to do about this book. I think I'll be writing all my notes down, and I'll be doing a full review either next week or the week after. But I mean, like, as I'm a little like emotional reacting to the book, and this is kind of like a knee-jerk reaction, but I just feel like this book is almost perfect. It's almost, if not perfect. Also, I can't, like, this is a 600-page book. It's one of the first 600-page books I've ever read. One of the first 600-page books I've ever read that I just feel like every page was justified. The length was totally justified, you know. The precision in which Steinbeck wrote this book is unbelievable. You know, there's no fluff. It is just the seed in the beginning of the book affected the rest, every other page in this book, you know. Like, you needed to start with Cyrus. You needed to see how deeply the roots run into this family. The roots of hurt and rejection run into this family, you know? Like, you needed to see that to understand why it affects Adam and Cal so much. It's just a beautiful work of art. Despite the medium, whatever it is, this is just a beautiful, perfect work of art, is at least how I feel now. And if you stuck around and watched all 4 videos with me, thank you so much for hearing my stupid ass talk about this book and give you my reactions and being wrong about a lot of things, and, you know, kind of being right about some things, and coming with me on this journey. It does mean a lot to me, especially those of you who have commented and told me it like made my day when I heard that people were gonna start reading the book again, to kind of like read it with me and to have a little bit, my reactions a little bit more in the forefront, or with the book a little bit more in the forefront of your mind. It really does mean a lot. I just think it's amazing. So thank you so much. It does mean a lot to me. I know, you know, it's a small channel. I know there's not many of you, but the people who comment and leave nice things and discuss with me books, it just makes my day. And yeah, I really do want to thank you guys for sticking with me to the end. It was, you know, this book ended up being even better than I expected, and I just really love to hear your thoughts on the end. And if the book had the same kind of if you had the same kind of reaction to the end of this book as I did, you know, I mean, I loved it. I absolutely loved it, and I wouldn't have changed a thing about it. So anyway, you know, yeah, thanks for everything. I'm just not ready for it to end. I want to read it again. I want to read it again, man. It's so good. I love all the characters. I love the plot. I love everything about it. I didn't want it to end. And I was texting my girlfriend when I had 10 pages left. I was like, I don't know if I can read these last 10 pages. I'm not ready for this book to end. And it feels sad to say bye. It feels sad to say bye, even though it's a video and there'll be another video soon. You can comment on that video, but it does feel sad to mark the end of this journey. Anyway. Okay. I'm gonna go home. I'm gonna sign off. I love you guys. I will talk to you in the next one. And thanks again for being here for this.